All right, hello everybody. Welcome to this online cooking class. I can't remember what it's called. It was Mastering the Art of Pho. Today it's going to be a really awesome, just kind of quick. I would almost say even like a hacked version of pho that you can utilizing a lot of ingredients that you can find, mainly rotisserie chicken that you can pick up at any grocery store. So. Normally, traditionally, the most popular pho, at least, is a beef pho, but that takes a lot more time. You're gonna have to stew the bones for at least, I would say, 8 hours minimum. With the chicken, it can be done in as quick as an hour. So we're gonna get kind of right to it with all the ingredients and everything, and I'll show you all like the little detail work and everything that goes into making a really delicious bowl of pho. So. It's great to have you all here tonight and joining us in this fun little cooking class. So my name's Tony Vu, and
Tony, before you jump in, let me do a couple announcements real quick, just so everybody is caught up here. I'm Andrew Coulon. I'm a librarian with the Grand Rapids Public Library. We've invited Tony this evening to do a program with us, and he's been gracious to share his knowledge. So hopefully tonight we'll all be able to learn something and just have a relaxed conversation around food, which we all love, right? I want to thank the Grand Rapids Public Library Foundation. That's the organization that funds a lot of our summer programming. So we've got a lot of summer programming going on right now. We're getting right to the end of summer, so there's not much left. But we definitely want to give a big thanks to the foundation. Without them, none of these programs would be possible. This is, I mentioned a few minutes ago, but this is going to be recorded. So we will post this recording probably tomorrow, but maybe over the weekend. But if you guys want to watch it again, or if you want to share it with some friends, we will post this on our Facebook and our YouTube channels. You can check back at the library website, and you can see the video again. I've also got an ingredients list that I'm gonna share a link out that will be with the video, and I'll share it tonight so that you guys can kind of see the procedure and the ingredients as Tony goes through the process here. Don't feel like you got to write everything down, because sometimes that can be a little hard. And that's about it. That's about all I've got. So I'm gonna hand it over back to Tony, and yeah, we'll go ahead and get started.
All right. Well, hello everybody, and welcome. My name is Tony Vu, and I'm the co-owner and executive chef of The Good Bowl, which is a Vietnamese restaurant located in Traverse City, Michigan. We also have a sister food truck called Good on Wheels at the Little Fleet that's located there in Traverse City as well. And I also have a restaurant in the Flint Farmers Market called Mamung, which is where I'm currently at right now. So it looks like we have a nice selection of people from all over the country. And so, it's the power of food and the power of pho, right? So, we can go ahead and get started. Pho, I guess my goal for this class is just to really, demystify just how difficult, making pho, at least the concept of it is. It's actually quite simple. It's as simple as throwing a bunch of ingredients in a pot and letting it simmer for, at a very low simmer for an hour or so. And so, but when you're kind of cooking things, at that kind of slow rate, there's a lot of just little nuances and details that if you pay attention to them and take care for them, that they'll actually, express themselves throughout the entire cooking process. And you'll have a really delicious broth and a bowl of soup by the end. So first things first is, when we start, and I don't know if you heard me before, if you're just joining us, but we're actually going to be making a pho based off of the rotisserie chicken, which you can get at pretty much any grocery store. So first things first is, I would say, let's go ahead and start getting our bones together and pulling our chicken apart. So these sticks. So what we have here, like I said, is just your average rotisserie chicken that you can get at any grocery store or anything. Just pick one of these up. The juices that kind of that are in the the container that the chicken comes in, that's liquid gold pretty much. It's tons of flavor, and so we're gonna go ahead and just take this and pour it right into our stock. Flavor to it. So, here. So as you will see, as we go through this process, we really don't waste a single thing in the salt. And that comes down to all our scraps, from our onions, our bones, like everything. It's all these little things that really make the broth just a really beautiful, and vibrant and deep and just tasty thing. So first things first is we're going to go ahead and break this chicken down. So let me try to get my camera down here. That looks good right there. So here we have the chicken. So the first thing that we're going to want to do is let's take this. Mine has a string on it, so you want to cut the string, binds it. Get that, work that out like so. Now that the string's gone, we can go ahead and take it up like this, and we're going to pull the whole thighs and leg quarters right off right there. It should come right off. And then from there, we can pull off the wings as well, just like so. Nice thing about working with a rotisserie chicken that's already cooked too is everything comes off like really, really easily. And from there, we're going to go ahead and go into the breast. Right on off. I don't know if you're a skin person or not, but I personally love skin, so I'm going to go ahead and save that. But if you're not a skin person, don't throw it away. Again, just put it right into the broth. So got this breast over here. So basically, you're just kind of going around and like picking off all the meat out of all your chicken, just kind of setting it aside. So to this side, peel off this side of the breast. Tendon, breast right there. Have it. So now you have like a really nice, cleanly picked chicken, all the bones and everything. So we're gonna set this to the side. We're gonna put that into our broth, but then we're gonna start working on these leg quarters as well. So we're gonna pull the drumstick off like so. Drumsticks. Do the same with the thighs. Always want to get that nice oyster right there. It's the best bite of the chicken, or one of the best bites rather. So you get that right there. Just peeling everything off. Okay. Same to the other one, which is right here. Leg off, you also want to pull the spine that comes off on one of those as well. I'm just going to go ahead again and just kind of work around everything. My favorite part of the chicken actually is the chicken butt. There's so much flavor in those little ends right there. When you go to Vietnam, there's just with how the street food stalls are set up. There's actual like entire streets and blocks that are dedicated to different parts of the chicken. Like you'll have like a block that's like all drumsticks, a block that's all wings, and then you'll have a block that's all chicken butts as well. So it's really, really cool little scene over there to just kind of stroll around and eat all this amazing food. Okay, so that last drumstick peels right off like so. All right, so we have all our bones right there to the side. I'm gonna go ahead and take all my meat right here. And it's really nice because, also when you get a whole chicken like this, you get a little bit of like dark meat, you get some breast, everything as well. And so you know, it's just really nice to have like all these different cuts of meat in there that you can throw into your or that you can enjoy with your bowl. Because it just offers like, you know, every bite is a little bit different, whether it's you know, dark meat, white meat, whether it, you know, it's with a certain amount of like herbs or like, you know, less noodles, more broth. It's, you know, no two bites really are the same. So it's just a really fun, interactive way to eat. It's just a really beautiful vehicle to do so. So we're gonna go ahead and just kind of pull our chicken apart, just pulling it in strips into like more manageable pieces. Setting that all aside. Same with the breast. So it's basically just pulling all the chicken. Nice and easy. This is in. I have the wings here as well. It's not really much to them. And so, I mean, if you want to just kind of snack on it and then toss the bones in there, that's usually what I do. It's not really worth pulling anything off. So let's go ahead and set that to the side. Okay, so now that we have all of our meat set to the side, we have our bones left right here. So we're just going to go ahead and take these bones and drop them right into our stock pot. So I have, and you will get the instruction or the recipe sent out, and it'll be available with the video as well. But what I have on right now is 6 quarts of water, and I have it at a boil. And so what I'm going to do is I'm going to take this chicken, and I'm just going to drop all those bones right in. And then when I drop the chicken in, I'm going to adjust the temperature so it's just like a nice gentle simmer. So that's probably the most important part to get done first, because the bones are just going to kind of continue to simmer and do their magic, release all their, you know, just like the beautiful marrow and things that and just all the beautiful gelatin things that just makes it such a really delicious, you know, soup and mouthfeel for it also. Get those in first, control your temperatures, and just let it do its thing as we prepare all these the other ingredients that go into it. So set that aside. Wash the film board off real quick. Okay. Before we move on to the aromatics, are there any questions regarding the chicken, types of chicken, you know, any of the processes or anything? Questions about myself, anything like that? There is the chat function, and you can feel free to just go ahead and type a question right in there, and we'll be able to answer everything for you. Also, I think because it's such a small class, if you guys want to just unmute yourselves, if you have a question, just kind of shout something out in the process. If you want me to explain anything, please feel free to do so as well.
Okay. Yeah, I'll go ahead and turn on chat for everybody here. So this will take a second.
Hey, I have a question. Where did you put those chickens? Did you put all the chickens and bones together?
No, so I took the bones and separated the bones, and the bones go into my stock pot right there.
Okay,
And then,
I see.
yep,
Make the
and then
soup.
the chicken is separated, and that's what we're going to make our bowls with.
Ready to use. Okay.
Yep, ready to use, correct. And you know, it doesn't hurt to try it and make sure it's good too. So. Okay. So now that our bones are stewing, a nice little gentle simmer, we can go ahead and start getting our aromatics together. So the first thing we want to do is start charring some more stuff. So we have two yellow onions or sweet onions, and then we have our ginger right here. And so what I like to do, you know, it's when you char your onions and your ginger, it just adds so much depth flavor to the broth that's really, really incredible. So I'm going to show you how to do that really quickly on the stove. Right now, again, you're going to cut these tops off, but rather than throwing the garbage, they go right into the broth. So keep adding stuff to our stock pot. That's going to go. Now, since we're gonna char these right on our stove top, so we want to get rid of as much of this dry outer layer of the onion as possible. So let's go ahead and just kind of make a little incision in there and just kind of get that first layer kind of peeled and cut down, like so. Just go around, and then once you get to the layer where it's just like a nice smooth, shiny onion, then you can stop, and that's what we're going to throw directly onto our stovetop. Now, obviously, this only works if you have a gas stove. If you have a electric stove, then what I would recommend is taking a tray and putting your ginger and your onions on the tray. Put it in your stove for maybe about 5, depending on efficient is. You can go in for about 5 to 10 minutes on 450 degrees, and you really just want to be able to just kind of soften them up and just start to see a visible char. So that's my first onion right there, and then we get our second one peeled like so. Layers out. These you can drop right back in the broth as well. So, yeah, repeat it over and over and over again. Nothing goes to waste. Everything just builds flavor that you can kind of take the sticker off, but we can toss this directly into the pot again. So, okay, so now we have 2 really nice clean onions. What we're going to do, you can see on my stove top there, we're just going to set it right in the center of the grate like so. Come on. Yeah, and we're just gonna go ahead and let it char.
You need 24 cups of water.
It'll start to slowly like blacken and char up, and once it gets to the point where you can kind of visibly see like a good amount of charring and everything around it, then you can take it and flip it over and then let it go on the other side as well. And I'll point it out when it starts to happen. What you really want to see is to see these kind of like moistures and everything, the sugar coming start to bubble out of the onions. And once you see that, then it's basically it's good to go, and it's gonna have a really beautiful, slightly sweeter flavor profile to add those right into it. So just gonna go ahead and let this char for a second. Here's some tongs. So just this one down a little bit. Just set it over here so it's more directly over the flame. So balance and keep it there for my functions. So back on. I can see the flame is actually directly right on it. And you can just kind of let it sit. I would say maybe about 5 minutes for each side, and then you'll start to see all this sugar. So go ahead and char it. If you have a grill on too, you can always just throw the onions on the grill as well. So any way that you can just kind of put a lot of direct heat onto your onions, it's just really unlock a lot of really beautiful flavors. So as these are starting to cook up a little bit and soften up, what we're going to do is start to work on our ginger as well. So come back here. This ginger right here, it's about, about a 5-inch piece or so. Go ahead and just kind of cut it right in half. Like so. Again, go back to our stove and toss these right on the flames. So let's go ahead and try this first. Now the best part, which is something you can experience, is the smells that are coming from this. I mean, you can really start to smell like the onions, like give off the sweetness, and the ginger is starting to, just really roast and char, and crackling. Plus, these all these oils, these beautiful smells. It's a really, really wonderful experience. Go ahead and just kind of let those, char over the flames. If you can see on that piece right there, you can start to see all the different, the black pieces or the black charm is starting to go on. So we're going to continue to let that go for a little bit. And we're just going to flip it right over. So yeah, as this goes, I was talking about the smells of all the aromatics and everything. And, it's probably one of the most vivid childhood memories I think that I have is, just going to bed and then waking up and just getting hit immediately with like the smell of like all the ginger and all the spices, that distinct smell of pho in the morning, right when I wake up, and like just being filled with like so much joy and anticipation to be able to eat, my mom's pho that she cooked. So yeah, a lot of really, really fun memories just based around the soup and just kind of experiences around the fact that my mom good and everything as well. So it's a really, really beautiful dish. And it's a special place in my heart. But in addition to that, it's in addition to be really good and really delicious, and it's something that I can and do almost every day, and lucky to do so. There's also a lot of health benefits that are really, really great with it. Obviously, with ginger, there's a lot of health benefits with just aiding digestion, gut health and everything. A lot of just the different spices that will start to go through and toast are actually contribute towards just building up your immune system, helping with the blood circulation, just all kinds of really wonderful health benefits that are with it. So each one of these ingredients is a really powerful, has powerful medicinal qualities in itself. But then you combine all of them together and then into a bone broth, which also has all these amazing health benefits as well. And you just have this like incredible, super food basically that just cures hangovers, everything from hangovers to upset stomachs and depression. So it's just a really, really amazing meal, all-in-one meal. That's definitely. So now that we've got this part, and you can kind of hear this hissing, I think, over the fan that you're from. But you flip it over there and you see how there's all that beautiful charm right there. It's exactly what we're looking for. So this one as well. So we're just kind of moving things over like so. And then you can start to see already there's just like all the liquid and it's starting to bubble out and boil out of the onion, kind of bursting out of these cavities and everything. So pretty much once you get to that point, it's pretty much good to go already. So ginger real quick as well. So that's nice and charred as well. It smells absolutely fantastic. So we're going to go ahead and take those right off. You can hear the hissing of that onion. So that is definitely ready to go. And so what we're going to do is just go ahead and take it and put it, turn the flame off, and we're going to throw it directly into our pot. This one. So, and with our ginger, steaming so beautifully right there. It smells so good. Before we toss it in, we're going to take a butt of a knife or a blunt object, and we're just going to smash it. Just really open up those fibers and allow the ginger flavor to really get out and imbue its flavors into the broth. So those nice charred ginger, and toss those right into the pot as well. That's the first part of our aromatics. Next is going to be our spices. Second here. So currently in the pot we have our chicken bones. We've got our charred ginger, we have our charred onion, and we also have just kind of the chicken juice that keeps coming from this region. So we're off to a really great start. This broth is going to be really good. So next we have our spices. And so I'll show you guys this right here. I grammed out, or I weighed out into grams, like, all the spices and everything, so that you can go ahead and recreate this at home. If I know it can be kind of hard to find a lot of these spices unless you go to an Asian specialty store. So for those of you that are in Grand Rapids, I would recommend going to a Vietnamese grocery store called Kim Young, and you'll be able to find everything all the ingredients that we're using here, from the spices down to the rice noodles, and all the herbs that we need as well. So getting back to our spices, what we have in here is a mixture of, this is called black cardamom. This is star anise right there. We have some cloves in there as well. These are all kind of like warming spices. They just like, it's just hold a lot of heat and just make your stomach just feel really nice. So, and then in addition to that, we also have fennel, and we have coriander seed. And then last but not least, another warming spice is cinnamon. And this is a very special type of cinnamon called Saigon cinnamon. It's just a really, really beautiful cinnamon flavor. It's a little bit different than much of the cinnamon that you're used to. So I'll go ahead and take the cinnamon stick, break it pieces, just open it up a little bit. And what we're going to do, similar to what we're doing with applying heat to the onions and the ginger, is we're going to toast these spices just really lightly, nothing too crazy, but we're going to apply enough heat to them so that all the oils that are locked in the seeds and everything start to seep out. And again, it just adds that much more depth of flavor to your broth. So we're going to take a pan. And we can add it right to the pan. And again, this is another thing where you're going to be, you'll be cooking with your nose. Like, as soon as they start to hit a certain temperature and those oils start to get released, if it's going to smack you and walk right across your nose, it's really, really hard to overdo it, I guess. One thing you do want to be careful about, though, is that the cloves, which are these little sticks right there, those tend to burn really easily. So you want to make sure as you're toasting the spices, you're kind of constantly keeping it in a stirring motion. So that way you can kind of evenly toast all the different pieces of everything as well. So we can let that sit, and they'll start to the coriander seeds will first start to kind of like pop up like a little bit. You'll see some action in there, and then after that will come the slices. So we just want to be able to get those all those oils again. This one. Opening up all these different flavors. Looks like we have a lot more people that join us now, so it's great to see. Are there any other questions while we're toasting the spices, or anything that over so far? And again, if you do have any questions, there's a Q&A section, and I think also a chat. Yeah, there's a chat.
Hey, I have questions.
Yeah.
I don't like onion. Is there any alternate, like something else you can think of to use it?
Rather than onion, you can omit the onion. Are you okay with green onions?
Sorry, which one?
Oh, do you like scallions?
Oh, shallot. Great, spring onion. Yes,
yep,
spring
absolutely.
onion. Yes.
Yeah,
okay.
And so what I like to do is, because I slice up the green onions as a topping, I guess, for the soup. And so I'll cut them down, but then when you get down to the very end, like the white thick parts, the roots, you save those and then just toss those right in the pot.
Okay.
That gives us really,
so
really
I cannot skip the toasting process.
You can skip it if you want. It's just, if you follow all these steps, the toasting, everything, it just gives it like that much more flavor. Yeah.
Yep. Okay. Thank you.
Yeah. And then visually, it's kind of hard to tell because I don't think you guys were able to really clearly see the spices and what they looked like before I started toasting them. But now they're starting to take on this really beautiful golden hue. You can start to hear it crack a little bit, and then you're also be able to see a little bit of smoking coming off of it. You can see right there, right? So that's pretty much it. You're just kind of getting to that level. You don't want to take it any further than that. You're not trying to burn anything. It's just kind of like a really gentle toast. And so that's what we're going to do there. And Second. And from there, you can, if you do have some kind of a strainer or cheesecloth that you can put the spices into and tie it up and drop it into the stock, that'll just make, you know, removing the spices that much easier. You can, just like tea or anything else, you know, over spice. I guess it is up to taste, but the longer that you leave it, the spices into the stock, obviously the more flavor that's going to come from them. It'll also darken the stock the longer that you put it in there as well. And so, you know, really just got to kind of trust your own self and your own palate as to, like, you know, when you think it's time, when it's spicy enough to take the spices out. So I'm going to go ahead and throw these right here. And I know that for me personally, I only like to put the spices in there for maybe about 25 minutes or so. Maybe even 20 minutes. And so I'm just going to set it to the side and put those in a little bit later. So then next up, I think I saw a question come through. So 1 second. What's that? So is the base just chicken stock, or are there additional items included to make the stock? So the base is, what we did is we took a rotisserie chicken and we pulled all the meat off of it. And then we took all the bones and the carcass that was left over from the chicken, and that was the base of our stock. Now, if you want, we have 6 liters of water is what we did. If you want, you can also add some chicken stock and as a replacement for the water as well, and that just kind of gives you like even more of like a chicken like broth. So, but yeah, it's the chicken and then the onions and the scraps. Yes, all the onion scraps. Like I said at the beginning, this is a no waste kind of recipe. So anything that you normally put in the garbage because, you know, you cut off the top of an onion or whatever, you know, you put it right into the stock because it's just going to make it that much better. So you're adding all your scraps. When you make a beef pho, you know, when you're cutting off all your fats and things, if you're trimming brisket, whatever it is, that goes right in the pot as well. It just gives it that much more flavor. So. Okay, so we have our spices toasted now. So now we're going to get our sugars. 1 second. Okay. So now we're going to get some rock sugar, which it's also called lump candy. You know, this is a pretty popular kind of brand that you can find everywhere, but they all pretty much have like a picture. But you can get these at a lot of Asian grocery stores. And, it's a night and day difference between using rock candy versus just regular sugar. So I highly recommend using this if you can find it. So for ours, you know, it really is to taste, but I like to use probably just like a nice chunk or something like that. Big. So size of my hand, that. Start with that. Tablespoon of salt. And really the salt, I mean, that's just kind of like your starting point, but really salt to taste. And then one of my secret ingredients that my mom taught me and things is mushroom powder. Mushroom powder you can get at a lot of Asian grocery stores as well. So we're going to do about a tablespoon of mushroom powder. Now, mushroom powder is great because it adds like a really just amazing element of savoriness to anything that you can add it to vegetables, like anything that you're sauteing, your stocks, whatever it is, and it just like enhances the flavor. So, you know, mushrooms are actually full of naturally occurring MSG, and you know, MSG has gotten a really bad rap, you know, over the 80s and everything, and it's a lot of it's just kind of based in really you know, kind of racist kind of undertones and everything, because you know, people associated you know, Chinese restaurant syndrome with like the MSG that was in their food, not the fact that they, you know, ate like 2 pounds of, you know, fried noodles or something. And so, you know, it was just a really bad kind of stereotype that came along with Chinese food. So then MSG got this really bad rap, but the reality of it is that MSG is naturally occurring in some of the best things, like it's naturally occurring in meats. Tomatoes are high in MSG. Parmesan cheese is high in MSG. Mushrooms, basically anything that's savory is chock full of MSG. And so it's not a bad thing by any means. There's been all kinds of studies and science that's debunked, this Chinese restaurant syndrome kind of thing. And a lot of your favorite foods that you might snack on are delicious because there's monosodium glutamate in it, which is MSG. So any of your chips, anything that's processed, basically, it's snuck in there, and but everybody associates it with Asian food for whatever reason. But it's used in a lot. Let's see, Thomas says, so recommending a brand of mushroom powder. I'm trying to remember the brand. I can't remember the name of it, but they come in almost like aluminum bags, basically. So it's like a big square bag, shiny, and then it has mushroom right on it. It just says mushroom powder. So I don't know the exact brand, but it's pretty ubiquitous. You see it at least in every Vietnamese grocery store. As far as not minding MSG, yes, you can absolutely use chicken bouillon as well. It's just going to enhance the flavor of your broth. So it's a good way to just kind of really concentrate that flavor. I would, though, if you are using bouillon, tone down on your salt, because bouillon is going to be naturally salty as well. So you're going to have to adjust if you're using bouillon. That's absolutely acceptable, and it's even recommended at this stage. So we have our rock sugar, we have our salt, and we have our mushroom powder. And so what we're going to do is we're going to take our saucepan again. We're going to pour all this into our saucepan. And then we're just going to take some of that hot broth that's been stewing and pour it right into the pan. And all we want to do really is just really melt down that rock sugar and just really get it nice and dissolved. And then we're going to add it right back to it. That's the whole purpose. So put that on your flame. It's already hot, so it won't take long. You just kind of let it boil, stir it around if you need to, and then just really let that rock sugar. So then we have that. Normally during this time, I would start prepping and just kind of slicing my green onions and my white onions, preparing my cilantro, my Thai basil, and everything. But because I am doing this cooking class right from my shop in the farmer's market in Flint, I kind of cheated and already have all that stuff. And so during this point, I'll just kind of open it up again if you all have any questions. If there was any detail work that maybe I was going too fast on, I'm here for you, and I'm here to help you understand and really demystify all this entire process. So feel free to speak up or type in the chat if you have any other questions.
Tony, is it better? Is it better to use that mushroom powder versus the fresh mushroom?
They're obviously both mushrooms. The mushroom powder is going to have a much more concentrated effect. Mushrooms are great. I would recommend adding mushrooms if you love mushrooms to your stock as well. There's really no wrong to it. I mean, whatever you do like, it's just to make it your own. I would recommend adding mushrooms, especially dehydrated mushrooms. The dried mushrooms that you get, especially like the dry shiitakes, like in the bags at the Asian grocery stores, those are just so flavorful once they get reconstituted in the broth. I would recommend adding those. But I think the mushroom powder, it works more like almost like a salt of sorts, as opposed to an ingredient that can stew along with your soup and your broth.
So one other question, Tony.
Mm-hmm.
So your broth, you started off with the onions and whatever the scraps,
Mm-hmm.
and then you added the spices, right?
Well, I toasted the spices. I haven't added the spices. The spices, because of my personal preference, I'm not going to add the spices until probably after I add the sugar, this kind of sugar. For me personally, I generally like to my spices, just go for maybe about 20 minutes or so. And then after that, then I take it out. So then it's just kinda...
But basically your broth now only constitute the chicken bones and the scraps.
Yep, chicken bones and the scraps and and the ginger and onions, the aromatics.
Right now, that's what you have there. Okay.
Correct. Yep. And then I'm about to put in this salt, sugar, mushroom powder. Mixture.
Later.
Yep.
Okay.
Right in right now. So what I'm doing right now is I'm just waiting for my rock sugar to dissolve completely. And so I got some of the stock. You can see it was a big rock, and now it's kind of it's starting to disintegrate into little chunks. That's all that's left. So I'm just going to kind of stir it around a little bit, just really let it dissolve, and then I'm going to add that right back to it. I think I saw another question. Louisa asked, do you have the measurements for the spices, salt, and rock candy? Yes. I believe there was a recipe that's sent out in the chat. It's also going to be accompanying the video that's going to be posted as well. But to answer your question, the spices, I don't have off the top of my head, but I do have it all measured out in grams. The salt, I did about a tablespoon, but really as you kind of salt to taste. The rock candy was, it was basically a chunk, maybe about 2 inches wide. And that's also to taste as well. Okay, so my sugar has dissolved. I'm adding that mixture right back to my broth. And that's pretty much the final component other than my spices, which I'll be adding in shortly. Do that.
They're really smart.
And when you add your spices in, I mean, just think of it like tea, basically. You're steeping the spices, you're getting all the flavor out of them, and at some point, the best part is to kind of taste it as well as you go along. And so, you give it a little taste now. You kind of you can see the mouthfeel on it. You can see if it needs a little bit more seasoning, a little more salt, whatever. And then as you start to add all these other components into it, just to be able to taste the difference of what they all add to the broth. It's a really, really cool and amazing process. So it's a great way to get to know your ingredients as well. So I have my spices in there. Yes.
Excuse me, I have a question.
Yeah.
Did you just put all the toasted spices into the pot?
Yes, I did.
Okay.
Yep. So we're basically on our last step right now. And then, I do have a lot of skin here, which I'm not going to utilize all of it. And so I'm actually going to drop some of the skin right back into the broth. And that'll give me it'll just add a really beautiful, just kind of fatty mouthfeel to it. And it's just kind of, allows it to just kind of glide around your mouth. So yeah, I guess while we're waiting, I'm going to say that, the soup is probably going to stew for maybe about 15 more minutes or so. If you let it go for any longer, for the chicken, for good chicken stock, I would say let it go for anywhere from for about 45 minutes to an hour, and you're pretty much good to go. A little longer if you want. But as you can also see, anytime you have a chicken or bones or anything like that, I've gotten into the habit of always, just saving everything. So I save all my duck carcasses, chicken carcasses. Thanksgiving, I save the turkey carcass, and then at some point, you could just kind of add all those things and do the same process, and have a really beautiful stock that way as well. So a question come in. What about basil leaves, coriander, and everything? Yes. So yeah, I do have all those already prepped that I got from the shop. But yeah, the traditional kind of accompaniments to pho is going to be chopped scallions, thinly sliced white onions or sweet onions, cilantro or culantro if you want to get even more traditional and authentic, and then and basil. Those are the usual suspects of that come with pho. As far as the beef bones, yes, if you want to make a beef pho, so chicken is much quicker, which is why I chose to do chicken for this cooking class. You can have a good chicken stock within an hour, where with beef bones, it's going to take you at least, you're going to go at least 6 to 8, probably more like 8 hours on those beef bones, just slowly stewing. And when I make my broth here in Long Island, a good bowl, we let it go overnight for 24 hours. Just really gets a lot of really beautiful flavors out of it. So like the beef stocks are a little bit more intensive. Also, before you start stewing bones, you either have to parboil them to clean them, or what I do is I char them really hard, and that cleans them because that burns like any impurities and everything on them, and then I add those to the stock. So those are both good ways to kind of get started on a good, nice clean beef bone stock. Let's see, process shortened by using an Instant Pot. Yes, it can be, and I've had Instant Pot pho before. There's just something missing to the beef, the beef Instant Pot. I don't know what it is. It's just to me it feels like it's kind of hollow, if that makes any sense. A lot of it is in the mouthfeel. It's also much darker broth, like when it comes out that way as well. It's just, I don't find it to be as a quality of a broth that you get up in Instant Pot than actually doing it the traditional way. I will, however, say though that an Instant Pot chicken broth is really, really good. I would highly recommend that because you can do that in probably 15 minutes as opposed to an hour. So yeah, as we're kind of waiting for this to go, I can also tell you a little bit about just like myself and my restaurants and just kind of how I got into the business and everything as well. So if you joined us a little bit late, I mentioned that I'm the co-owner and executive chef of The Good Bowl, which is a Vietnamese eatery located in Traverse City, Michigan. We also have a sister food truck up there called Good on Wheels. And I also have a food stall in the Flint Farmers Market, which is where I currently am right now. And my kind of journey has with food and getting the food business is it's just basically started with my mom. And so my stall in the farmers market is actually called Mulang, which is what basically mama in Vietnamese. And so a lot of my dishes, or where I got a lot of my start, was from my mother. She was just such an amazing cook growing up. Like, we all loved eating her food, all my friends loved eating her food and everything. And I kind of took that for granted for the longest time. Actually, my entire family did. I have 3 other siblings. And then right around, like, I would say when I was like maybe 27, 28 years old or so, I realized that nobody else in my family cooked, and that if I didn't take it upon myself to learn these recipes, that they would just disappear. And so that's kind of what got me started into this all. And I really fell in love with cooking and sharing food, and just really saw this amazing kind of transcendental power of food. So it's a really big, huge passion and art form for me that goes even beyond just like feeding people. It's a really, food is power, and it's really, really incredible. And so I got the opportunity to partner up with my business partner Soon Haggerty up in Traverse City 3 years ago now, actually. And we came together because she had wanted to, it was her dream to always open up a Vietnamese restaurant. And so, through a mutual friend, she was put in contact with me. So initially I came up there to kind of consult. And, pretty much instantly, we started talking and sharing our family stories, which were very similar. My father, we're both come from refugee families. She came over, on a boat, like ended up in California with her entire family. They basically started from scratch and were able to build up this really amazing, successful life where they were able to provide for all their children, and all the children were able to be successful. And same for my family. My father was a flight surgeon. He fought alongside the U.S. Air Force during the war. We were on one of the, so it was before I was born, but my family was on one of the last helicopters out of Saigon. And through his military contacts, he ended up in Flint, Michigan, to do his residency, to be able to practice again. And same thing, like we left everything that we had behind. It was just this horrible, like war-torn country. Saigon fell. If my father would have stayed, he wasn't able to get out, he would have been, killed. And so they left everything behind and came to America. And as he was, getting going through his residency, we ended up getting adopted by a doctor in really a small farm town called Millington. They found out about us, and they basically set my father up with a practice, and he basically became a country doctor. And it was this amazing, kind of small farm town upbringing that I had between there and then visiting all my relatives and everything in Paris and Switzerland and all over the U.S. So it was a really cool kind of experience that I had. And I was really fortunate, and I see how fortunate my family was coming from these really stressful situations. And same with Sun and her family. And so, when we met, we were sharing these stories, and we both kind of started thinking about what was it that drives us to do to want to do this. And in the end, we kind of both realized that we wanted to thank America basically for taking in our families, for giving us this little sliver of the American dream, and giving us the opportunity to be able to build up and have a life. And so the concept of the Good Bowl was built out of that. So we have a business model where $1 from every bowl gets donated to a local, national, or global charity. It switches up every quarter, and the customers get to choose, which charity they want their dollar to go to. And every quarter, all employees have create a short list that our customers end up voting on as well. So really, really proud. Probably one of the proudest things that I can say is that in 3 years of operation, we've raised and donated over $80,000 to mostly local charities in that time. It's just been an absolute blessing to be able to open up in the Traverse City community and be supported, and to have people really just support the business model as well. So just a big driver for me, and just all the work and everything that I do is just figure out different ways that I can kind of give back. And so I think ultimately my next step is with the Flint Social Club, which is a capacity building program for budding chef entrepreneurs. And we just do everything that we can to lower access barriers and allow people to really wield and express that true power of food that I was speaking of before. I mean, it's been absolutely life-changing for me. And it can be life-changing for so many other people if they didn't have these kind of hurdles that they had to jump over that other people might not have. And so we're really just trying to level the playing field enough for the support to be able to guide people to accomplishing their dreams. So yeah, that's kind of where I'm at with my food and just kind of my journey and evolution with everything. And I'm really grateful for you guys and all the interest that you guys have and taking this class and hearing my story and everything. And so thank you for coming out and just just really being interested and allowing me to share. So yeah, we can kind of go back and let's check on our broth real quick. So actually, camera there. There's my stock pot. Let's see. Spices in there. Let's do really nice. If we do it really slow and low, you'll get a really beautiful, just clear golden broth. Oh yeah. So I'm just gonna go ahead and let that condense a little bit more, just to get those flavors in. And I guess that's really kind of the other thing too, that you get the detail that you want to pour for is, depending on how much you have in your stock, whether it's how many bones or how much scraps and things like that, in ratio to the water, You just want to make sure that like you can allow the water to condense enough to the point where you can find that middle ground where you just have this really delicious, like unctuous, like broth that just has this like amazing mouthfeel. So try to pay attention to if it's like too watery, or if it's too or if it's too condensed. I mean, you really just want to let it boil out and boil down, and just get to that level where it's just the perfect basically. So while we're waiting for that to go, I guess I can show you the plating for the pho. Let me see. Are there any questions before we move on actually to playing with the bowls and stuff? Let's see. Okay, so what I have here is typical kind of Asian bowl right there. But we have our rice noodles right here, which I had already cooked. But you can get, depending on your sources. I mean, everybody carries rice noodles now. Most people, or most kind of Western grocery stores carry dry rice noodles. But if you can get to an Asian grocery store, you can get fresh rice noodles, and those are just a night and day just difference. Like the fresh ones are just, they just have this really bouncy kind of texture to them. It's just like it's a lot funner to eat. But if you're in a pinch and you can't find those, like the dry ones are perfectly fine as well. If you do get the dry noodles, then or actually any noodles really, you just kind of like follow the directions on them, pretty precise. So the good thing about the fresh noodles is that they'll cook much quicker as well. And so you just kind of batch out however much you want for a bowl. Get a pot of boiling water going. Put it into a strainer. Put the strainer into the boiling water. Stir the noodles around just to kind of like loosen them up and evenly cook them. It takes about 10-15 seconds, and then you pull it out. Really, what you want to do is when you pull it out, test one of the noodles. When you bite into it, all the starches should be gone, and it should have like a little bounce back. I always compare it to the texture of a gummy bear, so that's kind of what you're going for. Is like cook the noodles to the point where they're not too chewy, but they do give you that little bounce back. That's like perfectly cooked noodles. So we have our bowl of rice noodles right there. And what we're going to do now is kind of build our bowl. And this is the really fun part. There's really no right or wrong way to do it. I mean, we have so many modifications. Like people would love to get extra noodles or extra meat, extra onions, no cilantro, whatever it is. And so, it's at this point, it's your own adventure. So, like I said, there's no right or wrong way. I personally love a lot of scallions in there. So, scallions, get some of these sweet onions in there. I love sweet onions when they're cut like super thin, like that, to the point where they just kind of fold over. Because when I cut them that thin, they just kind of like disappear into the noodles. So as you kind of pick up your noodles with chopsticks, you're gonna get some onions and stuff in there as well. So green onion. Bring get some Thai basil in there. With the basil, obviously you can pull it off of the stems, but then once you have your leaves, what I highly recommend is ripping them as you put them in. Instead of doing a whole, you're just going to get a lot more flavor that way from the basil. So that. Cilantro. I love cilantro, so we'll put it in there as well. So that's our cilantro. Next, we're going to plate our chicken. And so that's kind of the cool part, like I said earlier, about using a whole rotisserie chicken for it, is that you get dark and white meat. And both of those have completely different textures, especially when they're in soup and everything. So, and even different flavors. So I like to do a little bit of both. Just kind of spread all that around. Yes, we do add bean sprouts. I personally like to add bean sprouts at the end so that they're not, broth and the heat of the broth doesn't get to them. They soften up. I like my sprouts really crunchy. So I always add that on top at the very end. I also don't like a lot of sprouts either, but as I said, to each their own. There's no wrong way to eat it. So, even if you want to commit sacrilege and after all that time to make the broth and everything, you want to douse it with sriracha and hoisin sauce, I ain't mad at you. I used to do it when I was a kid, so have at it. What I prefer to do though is that I like to take hoisin sauce and sriracha and put it in a little side dish. So then I keep it out of the broth and I just dip my meats and stuff into it as I eat it. That's a really good way to do it and also keep the broth nice and pure. Okay, so broth rolling, almost there. Do another little taste. Oh, that's really good. So basically, at this point, what you want to do is the key to a really good bowl of pho is really, really hot broth. And so when you're ready to serve, you want to make sure that your broth is ripping hot. And then you're going to ladle out some broth, and I would recommend pouring it over your meats first, just to get the temperatures of those nice, just like nice and hot. And then pour it over the rest. Add your, I like to top my bowls with chili slices as well. So that's what goes in there. I really love the heat from the chilies. Adds a really nice red color to it as well. Yeah, you pour that in there, and then you're pretty much good to go if you're adding your sauce. Oh, excuse me. I almost forgot. Can't forget fish sauce and lime juice. And I also like to add some pepper to mine as well. Now, fish sauce, I could talk to you about all day. There's a lot of different fish sauces out there. Not all fish sauces are the same. There's now this kind of like quality grading system that's somewhat new, similar to olive oils, like extra virgin, things like that. So what fish sauce has is a degree number, and so I think it's 30 degrees and 40 degrees. The higher number the degree, the higher quality of the fish sauce. I personally like a brand called Mega Chef. It's a 30-degree fish sauce. It's reasonably priced, and it's just a really, really nice, clean product. When you look at the label of your fish sauce, you want to make sure that there isn't like a bunch of like ingredients. Really, it should just say salt and anchovies. Sometimes some sugar is added, which is fine as well, but you don't want to see like any like weird long chemical names or anything like that. You also want a really pure fish sauce as well. So make sure it's just made from anchovies, that there's no shrimp in it or anything like that. It's just it's a completely different flavor and experience, and it's just you just produce all the good stuff. So I'm gonna add some fish sauce right to the bowl. Let's see, Thomas. Thai fish sauces are great. Actually, the Mega Chef brand that I told you, it's a blue bottle. That's actually a Thai version. A brand that that's been getting a lot of hype lately. It's a really high quality, but also very expensive brand from Vietnam. It's called Red Boat. It's good fish sauce, but as far as it being I think 3 or 4 times the price of Mega Chef, you have to be kind of like a fish sauce connoisseur to really be able to tell the difference. Where I think most people can. So I think you're at bang for the buck. I always go with Mega Chef. Okay, so I think my broth is now ready. So in 1 second, I'm gonna put this pot over.
Tony,
Yes.
we had another question. Ellen,
Sure.
do you put rare beef, tendon, and tripe into your pho?
You can, yes, absolutely. I personally love rare beef. I like tripe. Not the biggest tendon fan, unless it's tendon inside of meatballs. But yes, you can absolutely add all those things. And just because you're making a chicken broth pho, it doesn't mean that you have to add only chicken into it. I mean, you can add slices of like a thin sliced ribeye into a chicken broth, and it will be absolutely delicious. So there's really no rules. Like I said, you can, once you get the basics of everything down, you can make your bowl whatever you want it to be. You can make it your own. So that's part of the fun, is like really understanding what your bowl is. That's part of the fun of operating a pho restaurant. Is I see like you have my regulars coming in, and a lot of my staff, without even like having to hear their orders, knows exactly what they want, how they like their bowls, how many pieces of jalapenos they like in them. Like it's a really funny and just really cool kind of thing to see people actually who a lot of times have never eaten pho before. Now fast forward 5 years, it's like part of their like daily kind of life. So it's really, really cool. Okay, so my broth is coming up. So yeah, we're going to be coming to a close here pretty soon. If unless there's any other questions that anybody has.
Yeah, I think there's one more.
Okay.
Is broth served in restaurants typically beef, or is that?
Yeah, I would say beef is definitely much more popular. If they do, generally, if there is a chicken broth that is offered, it's going to be labeled as chicken pho. There's definitely restaurants or pho restaurants out there that specialize in only chicken pho as well. But yeah, the much more common version, I would say probably like 8 to 9 times out of 10, you're gonna be seeing a beef pho. Yeah, for me, I do a combination actually, and that's totally fine as well. I stew my bones, my beef bones in there, and then I also cook my chickens in there. And then I cook my chickens and put the bones all back in there as well. So you just kind of once you do it long enough, and you kind of understand like the heart of it all, the bones, I guess, of the broth. Then you can really just start to just kind of take it in different directions and really. I think ultimately too, it's making stocks it's all about being resourceful. It's so funny that it's like this huge thing now, but it used to be something that was just done out of pure survival, because you're taking all the cuts of meat and like the scraps and whatever that nobody wanted, and you're doing all these like really long labor intensive processes to pull the best out of them. And so when it comes down to it, like these stocks was peasant food. And then it wasn't until it kind of started to proliferate, and it was like, wow, this is like really good, that other people started to catch on, and it's now has this kind of like trendy status that it actually has. But I find a lot of like the best food comes from the creativity of just like poor, under-resourced people being creative and being resourceful with it all. And I remember growing up, oxtail was like 20 cents a pound or something, and now it's like $10 a pound. It's really funny how these cuts that that butchers couldn't even give out for free now are all of a sudden prized by and being served in fine dining restaurants and everything. So. Okay, well, I have my broth boiling. It's ready to go. Ladle this in. There. The chicken first. Let's see. You can see my broth is very hot. Wish you guys could smell this. It's really one more spoon. I'll do it. A little bit of extra broth just so I can drink it all. And so top it with our sprouts. So in there. And you guys can see all that steam. There you have it. And that's our beautiful, delicious, comforting bowl of pho right there, chicken pho. So now you guys know how to do, make a quickish bowl of pho within an hour. So yeah, that was pretty much it, you guys. Is there any other questions or anything that you have? Okay, well, thank you so much for joining us on this little cooking class. Yeah, it's really great time to have with you guys, and yeah, thank you for giving me a platform to share it.
Yeah, thanks, Tony. We will have the video of this posted tomorrow or over the weekend. So if you want to check back at the Grand Rapids Public Library website, we should have that video. We'll probably also share that out on Facebook and through social media. I think we posted the link for the recipe a couple times with the measurements and all the ingredients, but I'll go ahead and post it one more time here in the chat if you want to grab that link. Yeah, thank you, Tony. It was a terrific program. Very interesting.
Oh, thank you. And then I did see that people were asking or saying that I should do it again. And so just to let you all know, if you go out and follow the the Good Bowl on either Facebook or Instagram, I think starting in October, I'm gonna start up my online cooking class series again. And so they're all about an hour long. The whole idea is that they start at 5 and we can have dinner on the table for your family at 6. And we go through a variety of just different traditional, really delicious Vietnamese dishes. So keep an eye out for that.
All right. Well, thanks again. Anyone, if you have any last minute questions, we'll go ahead and answer those real quickly. But again, very good program. Thank you very much, Tony.
All right. Thank you.